If, like me, you've ever found yourself feeling a bit fed up, like you're stuck in a rut and life is not quite how you want it to be, then you may have decided to see if there's any good advice to be found in the world of YouTube. And if that's the case, then it's highly likely that at some point you will have come across this shiny-headed man. This is Joey Schweitzer, and he runs the channel Better Ideas, which, if you had to put it into a category, I guess you'd say that it's self-help videos, or at least it was, but now it's become something more. I'm going to show you two clips from Joey's channel. See if you can spot the difference. This is the intro of one of Joey's videos from 3 years ago.
Let me know if you've ever been in this situation. You're sitting down writing something and you've been struggling for hours trying to find the right words.
That's the first clip, and this is the intro from another video posted 6 months ago.
Here's another quick tutorial on how to ruin the rest of your life.
Did you spot it? Some of you right now are thinking, yeah, the second one's in black and white. Yeah, but that's not the answer. Objectively, both of these videos are nicely shot, but the first one is probably more typical of what we would expect to see succeeding on YouTube. The second one has a much slower pace, it uses an unusual aspect ratio, and black and white doesn't really hammer the dopamine receptors the way lots of pretty colours would. So why is it that the second video got 5 million views in just a few months? The answer is storytelling, and being as that's something I'm interested in talking about on this channel, we're going to do a deep dive on this video to break down some of the key storytelling techniques that Joey uses in this short film to make it something really special. So let's pick up where we left off.
Step 1. Close your body language. Go throughout life with a closed body language. Slouch your shoulders, keep your head down, don't make eye contact. Don't give anybody the impression that you're someone they can talk to or someone they can trust.
Okay, so our story begins. We saw our main character waking up in the introduction, and now he's outside starting his day. This video is something that Joey refers to as an anti-tutorial, where he's basically kind of sarcastically showing us things that we shouldn't do. So immediately when we hear the title, we think, oh no, I don't want to ruin my life. And then we're engaged, we're watching what the character's doing and comparing ourselves to him to see if we're similar in any way. We're hooked. In this first segment, we're seeing an anxious, antisocial character, headphones on, hands in pockets, avoiding interacting with other people by getting his phone out. Beginning with this is a great way to build a connection with the audience right from the start, because everyone has done this. We've all had bad days where we're just not feeling like our best self, and we'll do things like this as like a defense mechanism to avoid interacting with other people. I also love that to emphasize the anxiety and the disconnect between our character and the world around him, we've also got this blurry stop motion effect, which I believe has been done by using a low shutter speed and maybe also slowing down the footage a little. As I'm recording this, I've no idea if my attempt that you're now watching has worked. We'll see.
Step 3. Be late. Never be early to anything. Always tend to show up right on time or a few minutes late.
Okay, so there is a lot going on in this scene, loads to break down. So we've got here the first moment in the film where our character has to interact with other people. We can't hear what's being said, but if we examine how the scene's been shot, there's a lot going on. So the first shot, Joey walks in, everyone's already there politely waiting, but clearly not impressed that he's late. And we see Joey sit down, sort of awkwardly apologetic. The acting throughout this video, by the way, is really well done. This is not easy to do. YouTubers are going up in the world. Next, we see a closer shot of the two colleagues that have been waiting for Joey to arrive, which allows us to see more clearly how annoyed they are at having to wait. Mid-range and close-up shots are much better generally if we want to show how a character's feeling. As a wide shot, you lose too much detail. And then we've got another shot of Joey fumbling, getting his things ready because he's not prepared. And we're sort of cutting back and forth between watching a flustered Joey trying to get his things together, and we're seeing this from the colleagues' side of the table. And then we're observing the work colleagues from the end of the table. This might seem insignificant, but this is an important detail. I don't think that in this scene we're supposed to feel too much sympathy for Joey. He's supposed to be a bad example, so we don't want to see things from his point of view. So we as the audience are being deliberately positioned as if we too have been waiting for Joey and now we're watching him having to put up with all this nonsense. Not cool, Joey. Not cool at all. As the scene progresses, we get some closer shots of our main character, so we see his embarrassment. This later turns into anxiety again with the slow shutter speed as he tries to put the blame for his mistakes on his colleagues, and our scene closes out with presumably the boss deciding, well, let's not talk about this right now. But we also get another close-up shot of Joey looking sort of a mixture of relieved and guilty at the same time, like he knows that he's in the wrong. This isn't a scene that we would typically think of as being cinematic, but these subtle techniques that have been used really have a powerful effect when it comes to conveying the narrative of what's going on. The whole time we've heard zero dialogue, but because of the creative choices used to govern how the scene was shot, we know exactly what happened and we felt the mood in the room throughout the whole thing.
Can you feel the tension in the air right now? I know I can.
Next scene.
Step 6. Steal the spotlight. Always find a way to steer the conversation back to yourself. Whatever story you just heard isn't as crazy as that thing that happened to you that one time.
So just to bring you up to speed, because we've jumped ahead slightly. Before this scene begins in the video, we see Joey's left work. He's had an argument on the phone, and he's just generally looking a bit lonely and sad as he's walking around to wherever he's going next. Everything's very far away from him, again emphasizing the detachment. And this bridges the previous scene of the work meeting really well with our next scene, which opens with him arriving at a house. We don't see his face, but we can tell from his body language that he's not in a great mood. His shoulders are slumped, his head's hung. But then when the door opens, he sort of puts on a bit of a smile to try and be sociable and not appear as bad as he feels to the person opening the door. This setup is important because for the video's next point to hit home properly, we need to identify with Joey a bit more than we currently do. We didn't like him in the work meeting, so maybe we didn't compare ourselves to him as much in that scene. But now we've established a little bit of relatability again. I think we've all probably had moments where we've tried to appear less miserable because we don't want to be a party pooper and make things awkward for other people. And look at that, he's bought some wine too. Well, I'm won over. We like Joey again, which in turn makes the next scene feel far more uncomfortable. We see Joey and he's steamrolling a conversation. He just had to ruin it, didn't he? As he's talking, we see this blinding light appear around him, symbolizing that he's drawing all the attention to himself, stealing the spotlight. I'm not entirely sure how this effect was done, but if I had to guess, I'd say maybe it was a mask in the editing process, and then the brightness has been increased just over Joey so that we get this glaring effect. And this has also been emphasized further by some subtle sound design. We've got this effect that kind of sounds like a muffled roaring fire. And then we get a series of close-up shots of the people around him, again, so we can clearly see their discomfort at Joey's behavior and how he's kind of hogging the limelight. And after that, we get an over-the-shoulder shot from Joey's point of view where we see some of the people politely making their excuses and leaving, but it's obvious that they're sick of being there. This is another important POV shot because now we almost feel like we're either in Joey's shoes or at least we're on his side. So when we see the faces of the people leaving, we immediately in our head subconsciously relate back to a time when we might have seen similar expressions ourselves. So as we watch this scene, we're cringing for the character, but we're also thinking, oh man, I hope that people don't ever look at me like that. Because clearly in this scene, Joey is blind to people's actual feelings about him because he just keeps talking. Again, kind of symbolized with the blinding light, I guess. Just great filmmaking. Let's move ahead a bit further.
Shapeshift. Say one thing, do another. Act one way in front of others, and another way behind closed doors.
I really love the visuals in this scene. The theme is obviously constantly trying to be someone you're not in order to fit in with other people. Visually, we see this portrayed by Joey's reflection being distorted by his surroundings as he walks home from the party. Even when he looks at his own reflection, he can't clearly see who he is due to the distortion. Consistently, we're seeing throughout this video that rather than having everything spelled out for us, the cinematography is doing the work in telling the story and showing us what we need to know. Even if there was no text or narration, at this point in the video, we would clearly be able to see that the main character is miserable and that the cause of his misery is his own behavior. Finally, as the video comes to an end, we see more shots of Joey lonely, isolated, disconnected from everything going on around him. He's stuck in his own head. We switch between close-up shots that show his sadness and wider shots that emphasize how isolated he is from everything around him. The narration as well really guides this last part of the video. We almost get a little window into the mind of the character because Joey's narration style is very much like negative self-talk that we've probably all experienced at some point. So every now and then something gets said in the script that is very similar to maybe an obtrusive thought that we've had in the past, and we recognize it.
How are you supposed to get any validation without talking about yourself?
So what is it that makes this video so good? There's a lot of great things to learn from here. The contrast between the melancholy visuals and the pleasant piano score, the acting, which again, is so much harder than it looks. And the cinematography, while it's more understated, was also excellent. It was like watching 5 minutes of a film noir. It was all just so well thought out and well executed. But to me, the reason this video did so well is because of how much work went into using storytelling to ensure that the subject matter felt relatable. Of course, a lot of the stuff in the video is relatable, but bad storytelling could have let that get lost really easily. And if this video had just been a talking head video, it wouldn't have been anywhere near as enjoyable to watch. Not throwing any shade at your talking head videos, Joey, if you see this, they're also good. It's just that this video especially was a banger, all thanks to great storytelling. I do love the anti-tutorial vibe too. Maybe I should try one. How to ruin every video you ever make. I don't know, we'll see. But if somehow you've never come across Joey's channel, definitely go check it out. You may not even be interested in self-help type stuff, but if you're interested in cinematography and filmmaking in general, there's loads to be found there. I mostly watch it now for inspiration, for my own stuff, and it's just so good. You'll love it. I hope you enjoyed this video breakdown. If you did, then subscribe, leave a like, and go check out better ideas too. And I'll see you in the next one with more filmmaking and storytelling stuff. Cheers.